Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to This Week with Tammie Holland, powered by Brown and Crouppen. I'm Tammie Holland. Adrienne Scales Williams is a history maker. She is the very first African American woman to own a cannabis dispensary in the state of Missouri. It's called Luxury Leaf. It's located near the Grove in St. Louis City. She joins us now to talk about the challenges that she faces as an African American woman owner of a cannabis dispensary. I think it's absolutely fantastic that you do what you do. Welcome to the show, Adrienne. How you doing?
I'm good, Tammy. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. I'm excited to talk about my cannabis journey with you guys and
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, I'm happy. Speaking of journey, how did you get here? How did you become an owner? Or no, let's start first with the interest in owning a dispensary.
So my interest came about with two things that happened in my life. One was my mom, and the other one was a dog. So my mother got diagnosed with pancreas cancer. It was in 2016, and that was prior to it being legal, medical, or recreational in Missouri. And so I was trying to get her medicated, but I was afraid to buy product from off the street. And I asked some of my friends from either Michigan and California to send me products because my mother was suffering really bad with her cancer. And I didn't like watching her go through such a painful thing, but I couldn't get my hands on any. And so I kind of watched her go through this very painful journey. And then after my mother passed in 2016, then my dog got diagnosed with cancer, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go find a natural veterinarian that can help me. And there was no veterinarians in St. Louis that kind of knew anything about how to dose. They got me involved with CBD, but I just didn't feel like I was dealing with anybody that had any experience with helping me with medicine for either my mom or for my dog. And so I thought if I ever get an opportunity to provide the services of legal, medical based marijuana, I would get involved in it. And so here we are.
Wow, quite amazing. Quite amazing. You know, for many people, the process of getting licensing to do what you do is like jumping through hoops of fire, really. It's a very lengthy process. What advice do you have for African American women especially who are looking to follow in your footsteps?
So, as you know, in the state of Missouri, for the next 3 years, cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensary, the individuals that have those licenses, there are not going to be any opportunity right now. But I would certainly tell people to start it right now, because for the investment level, it's very expensive to get involved into the space. Start putting together a team. But the way they wrote the licenses rule for Missouri, it'll take about 3 years for them to allow people who have licenses now to run the process. So if you're looking to do it in another state that's just starting, because I had a friend in Alabama, he was like, you're just starting here, and I know in Kentucky, they're thinking about it, right? So I would say, depending on how they write out that application, it is very difficult for anybody to get into the cannabis space unless they have, I would say, a team, because you got these multi-state operators who've done it in Illinois, who've done it in California, and they know exactly how to do it. So for you to start off something new in your city, which nobody here had cannabis experience, you're forced to get involved with other individuals who are from other states that have the experience. So I got involved with a team of individuals who basically said they know everything, they can do everything for the license to get the license going. And so I just got on a team of experts who knew what they were doing. And I've told the state of Missouri this, is that if I apply for that license by myself, more than likely I wouldn't have got it, because the skill
Mm-hmm.
set they were looking for a chemist, they were looking for a farmer, they were looking for a whole bunch of things that I, as an individual living in Missouri, have never had that experience,
Yes.
nor would I've had it because it's never been legal in Missouri. So I would say to anybody who's looking to get in this space, it can happen, but I would certainly say put together a strong enough team that if, like Missouri, when they gave out the licenses, it was
Mhm.
based on points, right? And there was a lot of people who applied for the licenses who were just as qualified, but it was a stack rank point system, and that's how they decided who got the licenses in Missouri. The one thing that
So I'm
no,
sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Tammie.
So Luxury Leaf, where you are right now, is how many years in the making? So that could kind of help somebody with perspective and knowing exactly how long of a process this might take if that window of opportunity should ever present itself again in the state of Missouri.
So it took us about, I think I started after we were awarded the licenses. They were still trying to put together the team and the area where they were going to have the dispensary, the manufacturing, the cultivation. Because what the state of Missouri did was give out like 4 dispensaries, 1 manufacturing, 1 cultivation per team. And so from me starting construction in July, I was basically commenced because the state of Missouri has to come in and say yes, 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 no, no, no. I was commenced from July to December. So it took you, I was fast paced because I know a lot of people in construction. So I was able to get a lot of things done and make a lot of phone calls to get people in here. But again, the cost it's a lot. Just
Yeah.
along, and I'm just saying this, just for the security of all the cameras to be in compliance with the state. The first bid I got was $178,000 just for security cameras.
Wow. That's a lot of
And
money. That's a lot of money.
it was a shocker. It was a
Yeah.
shocker because I had a different budget, and that took up,
What'd you say, Adrienne? I had a much different budget than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just and just to stay in compliance with the state of Missouri, the security was expensive. So I would say if you want to get into the business, start rolling all your pennies up in your penny bank, get your investors involved, and it can happen for sure, though.
Thank you.
For sure.
Missouri obviously began recreational marijuana sales earlier this month. What differences, Adrienne, have you noticed between medical sales and recreational sales? Is it something that you like more? Is it a challenge? What do you think about that? Andy Crouppen is going to join us shortly. We'll talk about knowing our rights as it pertains to recreational cannabis and consuming it in Missouri. But what have you noticed?
So I absolutely love the medical market, right? And because when people are coming in, they're actually coming in with a medical card. They're saying to you, "This is what I like to see if you could help me with." It could be anxiety, it could be arthritis, it could be lack of sleep. And so when you're dealing with the medical market, they're actually coming in hoping to get some type of relief from the plant. And so it's a totally different crowd. But then you have the other people who come in and say, I just want to get the highest THC, and you're not able to go into the benefits of the plant, like the terpene profiles and, pinene helps you sleep a little bit better. And so when you're dealing with the medical market, they're looking to get some type of solution, a healing solution versus the recreational. But I will tell you one thing I really love about the recreational. And a lady came into me and she said, I'm 75 years old. I cannot continue to buy on the black market. It's a little scary out for me. And I'm glad that I have a store I can go to with hours and I know exactly what time I can be there and things like that. So that was a feel good for me, that recreational market, there was somebody saying, there's someplace I feel safe. You want to get it. Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of people, and I know you've got to get going, you've got to get back to the dispensary, but I know that there are a lot of people who are new to this space, and it is probably quite intimidating going into a dispensary for the first time and not really exactly knowing what to do and not what to ask for. I have obviously been in Luxury Leaf, and I appreciate the help that you all provide your customers at Luxury Leaf. What Adrienne, before you go, give us a commercial if you will. What sets you apart? There's so many dispensaries that are around, and really maybe a few that aren't too far from you. What sets you apart from those dispensaries, Adrienne?
So when someone come into our dispensary, and I've been trying to make sure that everybody here knows that their patient experience is the most important thing. Educate them, let them know what we have. There's so many different ways of consuming. Um, Most of the time, everybody who's coming in my dispensary for medical market, we know them. And we're asking them, how did that work for you? What can we do different? And so we're on the personal cannabis journey with our clients. Now, some people are like, I just want to get what I want to get, Adrienne. But for the most
Hmm.
part, we're trying to get involved. I had one lady who said, I got off 9 prescription drugs based on
Wow.
some of your recommendations.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
we're really, really in love with the benefit of what the plant brings
I
to the
bet.
people. So hopefully that passion comes across to individuals that come into Luxury Leaf.
And aesthetically speaking, it's quite classy in there. It's just really very, very nice. I like it. Yes, I like it a lot. Adrienne, tell everybody who's watching again how they can find you on social media, and where can we physically get to you, or how can we physically get to you?
Okay, so Luxury Leaf is located in the Tower Grove location in the Tower Grove area, 1463 South Van Deventer. We're proud to be here in this Grove area. And then our website is luxuryleafstl.com. So you can shop online and find out what our products are there. And then our social media is Lux Dispo. So
Well,
I would love to
Adrienne,
service everyone.
yeah, Adrienne, I listen, I admire you a lot. I do recognize that as an African American woman, what you're doing, it's absolutely groundbreaking. I know that it must be a very tough road for you to journey and travel on so many occasions. So I take my hat off to you. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and to know you, my sister, are a part of that makes me feel really, really awesome. So congratulations
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you. Now get back.
appreciate it.
Now get back to that dispensary.
Okay. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good day. Have a good day. Yeah, everybody check out Luxury Leaf. I do appreciate the fact that yes, it was the very first dispensary in the state of Missouri owned by an African American woman. Luxury Leaf in St. Louis. Look it up. Adrienne Scales Williams. What a beautiful person. Well, obviously, for those who do enjoy cannabis from time to time, that's all right. That it is within your legal right to do so. But it is also very important for you to understand the law as it pertains to consuming cannabis in the state of Missouri. Andy Crouppen is a senior partner at the Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. He joins us now to help us understand our rights as it pertains to the consumption of recreational cannabis in the state of Missouri. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Tammie. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. So, Adrienne Scales Williams was just with us. I think she's absolutely fantastic. She's got this great cannabis dispensary in St. Louis. It's called Luxury Leaf. Lots of people, obviously, have been taking advantage of being able to go to Luxury Leaf and other places like it to purchase legal recreational cannabis in the state of Missouri. Great.
I don't feel like that has been publicized enough. I don't feel like maybe everybody knows that rec. I know they knew it passed, but I don't know that everybody knows that it actually is now available. I would think people would be screaming
Oh,
that from the
Andy.
rooftops.
Oh, Andy, I
You think
think those
everybody knows
I think they know. I think
by
they
now?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they do. And for
All
those
right.
who do and for those who do know, I want to help them to understand their rights.
Yeah.
Because these are different times now. So I'd like to hit you with a couple of scenarios, okay? Say if a
Yes.
person is out driving, Andy, maybe they've been at a
Hmm.
party and they've consumed a little cannabis. Maybe
Hmm.
they have some in the car. They get pulled over by the police. What could happen to that driver who's consumed cannabis and may or may not have cannabis in the car at the time of the pullover?
Right. So, first and foremost, the law looks at driving while under the influence of cannabis much the same as it does driving under the influence of alcohol or any other drug. You are impaired. You should not do it. You should not be behind the wheel. You also are not allowed to have any passengers consuming cannabis while you're driving. So a little departure from the alcohol laws, because I believe in St. Louis, you can have a passenger with an open container of alcohol. No one can be consuming cannabis in the car while you're driving, passenger or driver. Now, if you just have cannabis in your pocket or on the seat next to you, that's legal in theory, assuming you're staying within the legal limits. In theory, nothing should happen to you. Now, I think it's possible there are some jurisdictions in the middle of the state, rural areas where you might get the wrong cop on the wrong day who might try to do something that ultimately you'll get out of. But no, it is legal. It is such a remarkable departure from the past.
Okay. So what is there an amount that one could have and remain within a safe legal limit, or give us that? I mean,
So it depends on if you are a medical patient or if you're just a recreational patient. I believe in Missouri, a recreational user is allowed to possess up to 3 ounces. Now, there's they have a bunch of weird formulas. When I say 3 ounces, they're talking about 3 ounces of flower, what most people would traditionally think of as the form they would see cannabis in. If it's edibles are measured generally in milligrams of cannabis per edible or per package. And so there are some conversions, but I'll tell you, you got to have a lot of edibles to equal the legal amount. In other words, and even cannabis, like if you have 3 ounces of flower on you, anyone who's familiar with this, that's a fair amount of flower, and probably more than anyone needs to just carry with them without, before they end up back at their home. If you're a medical patient, you're allowed to purchase, now it increased up to 6 ounces every 30 days, and it rolls. So you can have an enormous, more than most people would consume in a short period of time.
Okay, Andy, so let me ask you a question. So say for chance, maybe it's not easily able to be determined that the cannabis in one's possession was actually from a dispensary, okay? What if it's something that's from the black market? Then what happens?
So it should not matter. You have the legal right to possess cannabis in Missouri. Now, when it was just medical, there was some thought that you had to have proof that it came from a dispensary, and if you had bought it in Illinois, realistically, I don't think many, if any, people were charged with that. I think they saw you're a medical patient, you have this cannabis, and you're okay. So kind of along the same lines, what do they call it? So when the market first started, I'm trying to think, they had a name for it, but when the market first started and people started growing cannabis, it wasn't here legally prior to that, right? So you had to get the seeds from somewhere. And so there was this time period where every one of these dispensary owners and growers had to somehow obtain seeds. And I don't think there was a legal way to do it. So I think everybody was forced into this weird illegality. Even the people who were legally growing had to illegally obtain the seeds often. So I guess there's really no way to do it. So I think what I'm saying is in certain cases, while it may be a technical legal violation, they generally had to look past that as this market matured and started up.
Okay, this is a federal type of a question. You may not have the answer to this, okay? Giving you another scenario. Say you're in an airport and you're flying from one city to another city, and both cities have open recreational laws that cannabis is, you are free to consume legal cannabis legally in these states. So you're flying from one state to another state, you're in an airport, you get stopped because you've got weed in your bag. What happens?
So technically, that is illegal. You are subject to the federal laws, just like if you were to have cannabis on the Arch grounds. That's federal territory, policed by federal officers, and that is a crime. What they'll do about it at the Arch, I don't know. In the airport, practically speaking, what'll happen, most of the TSA guidelines and statements that they have put out is that it is illegal. However, they don't have the time to deal with it. So what they would do if they found someone with cannabis in their bag, they would refer them to local law enforcement who would enforce the local laws. Realistically, I have never heard of anybody having any issue in that scenario, but it is potentially a federal crime. And again, you catch the wrong person on the wrong day, you could find yourself in trouble. I think once you're through security, I don't know how anybody would ever find you on the other end if you're going from one legal state. So if you're traveling from Missouri to, let's say, Denver, right? I don't think anybody in Denver in the airport is looking for people who are arriving carrying legal cannabis, but you should be aware that you are committing a federal crime and there are potentially penalties. Most likely, they say they will refer you to federal law enforcement. Realistically, I don't think anybody wants to hassle with it, and I think they probably just ignore it.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Unless, let me rephrase that. If you are carrying an amount that you are clearly going to sell, and it's more than just personal use, you are going to have problems if you got caught. I think that's for sure.
Okay.
You know, I think all of this, Tammie.
What?
I think that the one of the bigger things to come out of the legalization is something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. And I think it's really important because I think there really needs to be a shift in people's mindsets regarding cannabis. And when I say that, the biggest thing I mean is this. When I was growing up, and always, it seems like there was alcohol and then there were drugs. And drugs were everything. Cannabis, heroin, meth, they were all in the same group. And I have to tell you, and I will debate you to the death on this, and not you, but anybody who disagrees. Cannabis does not belong in the discussion of other drugs. I think you make a strong argument it doesn't even belong. It doesn't even belong grouped in with alcohol. And the danger of that is when people are having discussions with kids, what they're taught in schools is drugs are bad, alcohol is okay when you're 21. And so you have people, I don't know very many people in my life who have not at some point used cannabis. And when you say it's a drug, you use cannabis, it was safe. Nothing happened to me. Nobody ever dies from cannabis. And so then you're like, well, all of these other things that they tell me are drugs that are dangerous, maybe they're lying about that too. And so I think we can force cannabis into being a gateway drug unintentionally by kind of misleading young people into thinking it's just as dangerous as heroin. And I think it's a very, very dangerous place. And I think it really needs to be normalized and be accepted as no different than alcohol. Alcohol is very powerful. I don't think anybody's encouraging their young children to drink alcohol. You tell them it's dangerous. You tell them they shouldn't do it until they're 21. And I think cannabis should be treated absolutely the same because it is 1,000 times, a million, infinitely safer than alcohol.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a very interesting perspective, and I do understand, and I agree with you for the most part on most of everything that you said. Listen, Andy, before we cut out of here, listen, I don't know why there would be a gray area. However, the consumption of cannabis should not be done by minors. So, how old do you have to be in the state of Missouri to legally consume recreational cannabis?
21 years old.
21.
And I think that's an important thing. I do think that cannabis, while I do think it's a really can be a very wonderful substance for a lot of people and a lot of medical issues. There is a lot of evidence that use by people under 21 while their brain is still forming can be quite detrimental. So I do think you want to be mindful of that, and also where you consume cannabis. You know, a lot of people always, even before it was legal, would smoke out in public. That is still illegal. You cannot consume in a public place. However, I think that we've seen with the proliferation of these markets, there are a lot more ways to consume it. And I think a lot of people are taking edibles. I don't know technically if there is a position on that, because you can't consume it publicly is the position. But there's a big difference between smoking a joint in the middle of a crowded area and popping a mint into your mouth. I don't think you're going to have a problem with that because it's less intrusive. But technically, even that is probably still illegal.
Andy, I appreciate you for sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you. It opens our eyes to a greater understanding of recreational cannabis sales and usage in the state of Missouri. And of course, if we ever have any questions, you know, we can always just hit the website and see what we've got going on over there on that good Brown and Crouppen website, right, Andy?
That's right. And if we have to go, and if we have to do this again and talk about it, Tammie, you know I'm always available.
Oh, thank you so much. Andy,
Okay.
have a fantastic day. Happy Friday to you.
Take care.
Thank you, you too. Listen, everybody, I do appreciate you for spending a part of your Friday with me. Of course, my program is beautifully sponsored by the good people at Brown and Crouppen. Of course, the choice of a lawyer is a very important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. But you know what happens. If you get into a situation, I'm not telling you what to do, but you need to call my people, all right? Listen, have a fantastic Friday, and I look forward to chatting with you again next week. Have a great day.
We fight because that's what we were born to do. Fight for our clients, protect their rights. That's all that matters. Since 1979, Brown and Crouppen has been fighting for you, the people of St. Louis, who have been injured in an auto accident. With $1 billion in compensation for its clients, 10 offices, and more than 50 attorneys, Brown and Crouppen has what it takes to take on the insurance companies and get you the compensation you deserve. If you've been injured in an auto accident, the only firm to call is Brown and Crouppen. Brown and Crouppen, with justice for all.